Before we get started, a quick thank you to everyone who has used our referral link and has joined our fleet. To get an extra 5,000 starting credits and join us in our shenanigans, click the link in the description. Now on to the video. Alright, so today we're going to look at the 319 new player experience and tutorial. I want to look at some of the bugs that I encountered and just some general housekeeping things that I would do if I were creating this tutorial, and I'm sure my HCI professor would appreciate some of these tips that I bring into this. So the first thing you're going to notice, and this seems to be a recurring bug, is that you spawn in and stand up immediately, which makes it impossible for you to accomplish the very first goal that you have, the very first checkpoint, if you will. You see my character and he just pops right out of bed. Can't get back into bed. Gonna do some fast forward magic throughout this video because otherwise this is 30 minutes of uncut footage that I really hope SIG sees so they can revamp this experience and fix some of the bugs, fix some of the things that are going on. So at this point, I'm logging back to menu, gonna log back in. Since the first attempt failed, I was really happy to see it asked me if I wanted to do the tutorial again. I clicked yes. And we're going to go ahead and load in again at hyper speed. And here we go. Without any input again, pop, my guy stands up. This time I spent a little more time walking around trying to figure out a way to get around this. And what I found was actually if I go sit in this chair right here, the chair that kills you, if you read the patch notes, and then stand up, it goes ahead and clears that task, which is good to know. That really is just looking for a stand-up action. Then going through the rest of this, I'm gonna fast forward. Just basic tasks that most people know. Good information to have. I always am of the mindset that you need to assume that a first-time user is completely incompetent. And I think for the most part, this section of the tutorial nails that. It has all of the basics to get you from the hab to the hangar. Once we get to the hangar, we're going to start seeing some more issues. This is a spot where I did have an issue, though. It tells you to look at the map. And I assume from most games that your area map is going to be on, in this case, the Moby glass or some kind of key that you can see on your character. I wasn't really thinking go to the mall type map standing in the courtyard. So it did take me a little while to do this because I was trying to act like a totally new player. Here I am reading through, trying to see what am I missing. Is there something? I was clicking on the map icon on my Moby glass because I knew where that was. Couldn't get it. So here we go. Eventually I do get it. I do get where I need to be. And see, you can see the little icon took time to pop up too, which part of the confusion probably came from that. Now you see where I am. Gonna go buy some stuff. Good, get to learn how to use the trade terminals. Very important skill to have. I did buy a little more than what I probably needed just because I was messing around and wanted to stock up while I was here. After this tutorial, I did grab my caterpillar and move stuff up to Baijini Point, where I'm going to make my home for this runaround. And now the tutorial's telling me to go to the tram. So it guides me all the way to the tram. Very good. I appreciate this. I think this is a excellent new player intro so far, aside from the map thing that we saw earlier. Riding the Skytram. The volumetric clouds over Area 18 look amazing, by the way. I really do appreciate that. I got some screenshots today after I did this. Alright, so now we're going to the terminals. This is my next little small quirk, not really something that I think is huge, but I feel like claiming your ship for the tutorial, the ship should already be landed here. Maybe they're trying to get us to understand how to use the claim function, but I feel like this 20-second pause for delivery is unnecessary in a tutorial. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the verbiage just needs to be changed on the tooltip. That might actually do it. Tells you to take the elevator to your hangar. You get that nice little UI, tells you to use the hangar. And here we go. Looking down at my notes, this is where we start running into issues with commands. So I do think during tutorial, I had my key hints turned off. The tutorial should turn those on by default, no matter what. So you should see the keybinds over on your right-hand side. I did notice some UI issues with the keybinds, or because I use a dual stick setup. It said undefined next to some of the keys. Not a big deal. That's my setup, not the average user. But once I turned that on, I did see, press U to power up your ship, which makes sense. The next thing that we're going to have an issue with, though, is that it doesn't actually tell you to call ATC to open up the hangar bay doors, which could lead a new player to sit here in the cockpit being like, okay, so I turned on the ship, what do I do next? There's nothing that actually tells you contact ATC, request permission for takeoff, any of that. Eventually, because I knew what I needed to do, I did it anyway, but that's something that could be refined into this. Then, taking off and flying is pretty straightforward. It has you fly through a few checkpoints. Looks beautiful, looks gorgeous. I think they made you fly a little bit too far. I think it just took too long. You only have to go, 8,000 meters to get out of Area 18. So at 8,000 meters of altitude, it should have moved on to the next jump to Baijini Point section. Alright, so now we've jumped to Baijini Point, so we're going to fly to the station. We have markers. I did notice there's a double marker here for flying to Baijini Point. Don't think that's intentional, so that's probably something that can be moved. Then, as I approach Baijini Point, again, just like there was no prompt to ask us if we wanted to contact ATC to leave Area 18, there's no prompt asking us to hail the station and ask for landing. So that's something that a new player wouldn't know again, and you have the marker saying land here, they may misconstrue that as they need to go land and there's nothing there. Then got intercepted by security and had to get scanned. That shouldn't happen during the new player tutorial. There should be a flag on the player or the player's ship, so the AI knows not to scan those people during this flight. Or alternatively, you make it a scripted thing so that it always happens, and that way, people know, hey, you need to stop when security says stop. I go to land, and you can see there's another ship flying into my bay, which means two people were assigned the same bay. I went to go land, and I just landed just off to the left of him. Again, with prompts, there's no prompt to tell a new player to put their landing gear down. I know for people who have played this game as long as I have, it's common sense to put down your landing gear, but because I was playing this dumb and I was kind of surprised there was a second person in my bay, I forgot to put my landing gear down. So I landed, put the landing gear down, and ended up getting a parking violation. I think this is because more than one person was assigned to this bay, and I ended up touching down with no gear, then getting back up. Either way, this parking violation more or less ends my entire tutorial playthrough. You'll see the ship gets impounded. I eventually get on the elevator. At the point that the ship gets impounded, the game counts the ship as stored, so it completes the tutorial for me, and I don't actually get to use the ASOP terminal. This could potentially lead to a deficit in knowledge later on in the game when you don't know how to store your ships. I did get my credits, it completed the mission just fine, and I think that with a little bit of polish, this is actually going to be a really good intro that'll help a lot of the new players I've interacted with be able to get into the game faster and know what they're doing. Any tutorial is better than no tutorial. So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I understand this is, tier 0 of the new player experience. And I think it's a good run. I just think there's some quick brushing up that can be done. I hope you enjoyed my walkthrough, and I hope SIG can use this information to polish this experience. Thanks for watching.